Hi, good morning. Welcome to The Big Issue. My name is Selom Adunu. We are live on 97.3 Citi FM. We're also live on our socials. Very good morning to you once again. Today, quite a number of things on the table for discussion. One is the growing rejection of government's latest round of tax imposition on the people. On the 1st of February, the emissions levy came into effect. Also, there's been a discussion of a VAT imposition of electricity. That has not gone down well with people. In fact, the TUC has served notice that it will demonstrate on 13th February against what they call the insensitive imposition of this particular tax. A lot of other people, stakeholders, have spoken. The opposition National Democratic Congress has had its take on the VAT on electricity and even the emissions levy. Surprisingly, the MPP itself, its organizer, Nana B, has said that the emissions levy is bad, the timing of it is wrong, even though he admits that government must generate money. But really, is it a revenue generating measure or it's a climate change mitigation move so we can unlock some of the green money, elsewhere in the international community? What really is it? What is government thinking? This is an election year. Why will government be imposing such taxes on people who are already distressed? Mind you, the people are still recovering from the effect of, or having to deal with actually, the effect of the domestic debt exchange program, other taxes, the hardship in the economy, and a few other things. Now having to have another round of taxes imposed on the people, is it a little too much? Or you think because the country needs to be saved, we must all sacrifice a bit more to ensure that our country comes out of the wood? So we are turning the corner, we are on the right path, and so we must all chip in to make this happen. Also, the Electoral Commission has served notice, or is serving notice, that it intends changing the election date from 7th December, which we've known all along, to 7th November. In fact, the proposition is not new. It came up in 2015 when the NDC was in power. The NDC was for it, but the MPP was not. Now, MPP is in power, NDC is in opposition. MPP is for it, NDC is not for it. What is it that these two major parties are not telling us? And should the Electoral Commission go ahead despite not having the needed consensus to make this happen? Is it coming too late? We understand there's an unwritten consensus that you do not introduce major policies in an election year or major reforms in an election year. Is changing the election date a major reform? Why or how does the change of date become a major reform, if even it is? And also, we understand the Electoral Commission has not yet made available the timetable for election 2024 to the political parties and other stakeholders. Shouldn't the Electoral Commission be more concerned about that than thinking about changing an election date? We will look at all of that as well. Also, last weekend, around this time, the MPP was at the polls electing parliamentary candidates in areas it has parliamentary or MPs. Quite a number of incumbents lost. Significant among those losing were also some key women. Adjwasafo, Gifty Chuma Mpofo, Tina Mensah, and a few others lost in that particular election. Some new entrants also came in, Mike Okwe, Jerry Ahmed Shaib, and a few others. The question or the matter of experienced hands leaving Parliament also came up for discussion. The question is, should experienced members of Parliament continue to be in Parliament while they are failing at their representational job or constituency responsibilities? Where do we draw the line? What can the parties do to protect these people? Will they be even democratic at all? We'll look at that. Now that the two parties appear to have their team set, what do we expect in the days ahead? Bawumia is addressing the public on February 7. We are eager to know what he has to say. I'm sure he'll be laying out his own program and vision for the country. Mahama is done so already. He's around the country in the Building Ghana Together tour and a whole lot. So it means what it does appear is that the parties are ready. The country is also preparing to be ready for election 2024. This is our discussion today. The show is live and interactive. You can join us via our WhatsApp line 0549 986-996, 0549 986 996, or 020-444-7033. And we'll be ready. We'll be very happy to share your views as you share with us to the rest or with the rest of the world. Once again, my name is Salom Adunu. I'll take a short break. I'll return, provide you some updates, introduce my guests, and then we'll hit the discussion. Don't go. You're welcome back to the big issue. Very big welcome to our TV viewers as well. My name is Salom Adunu. We are discussing three main issues this morning. We're looking at the emissions levy, which is generating some controversy, in various sectors of our country, and then the VAT on electricity. That matter is still not going away. Various stakeholders have spoken. The MPP is national organizer, says he thinks that the timing is wrong. Guta is complaining. Quite a number of people are complaining. The climate finance and energy transition people, they are quite happy because that's really what they do. And a few other people are complaining. The NDC is complaining. A lot of other people are complaining about the emissions levy. They feel that they have been taxed enough and they must be given some space to at least generate more money before government can continue taxing them. We also look at the issue of the Electoral Commission's proposal for changing election dates. December 7 to November 7, does it make any difference? What's the big deal? Why is the NDC not in agreement with it? Why is the MPP appearing to be happy with it? Why was it that when this idea came up in 2015, the MPP opposed it, but this time they are supporting it? NDC was in power, then they supported it. What was the issue? We'll try and delve into that and understand what it means. Also, we will look at the MPP primaries of last weekend, what the results have been and what the implications of what the implications of the results would be in the next election. Quite a number of big names lost. Tina Mensah lost, Adjasafo lost, and a few other people lost. New people have entered the fray and hopefully will be in parliament if they work hard, and a whole lot. Now, it appears that two major parties are set with their candidates, presidential MPs. What is left is the running mate on both sides, but we'll look at all of that. To help us do the discussion, Richard Ahiangba, Director of Communications, we heard earlier, Baba Jama, former MP for Akwita, Deputy Director Legal of the NDC, former Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, former Deputy Minister for Information as well, and quite a number of other roles. Francis Timoboy, tax analyst, he was making a point before that break. Nana Amoisi, the 7th Executive Director, Institute of Energy Security, for Energy Security, is in the studio with me. And then Kwesi Yamo Abedu, Policy Lead, Climate Change and Energy Transition. These are my guests. So, Francis, you were making a point before the break. You were talking about the timing, and then also the fact that you thought that the 10 pesos per liter that we were paying was going to suffice, but you are not sure about this particular emissions levy. You think that the more you drive, the more you should pay for it. That is why you are in support of the 10 pesos. Yes, you're making a point.
Exactly, Salom. So if 2021, we were made to pay 10 pesos, and 2 years down the line, you are now coming back with another tax, the same objective, that we should pay this time based on the engine capacity. That sounds like double dip, and everybody will think that, you are not being fair to them. So I was of the view that the pesos on a liter was more of an achieving the objective, because you are able to change my behavior. You tell me that instead of driving, you can walk, or maybe take a bicycle, because I am paying more in terms of fuel. Now we are coming back to pay another one. That is not, for me, it's not the best. Again, the emission tax is supposed to lead in a change in behavior. So there must be an alternative. The question is, what is the alternative here? We are being told that electric vehicle. So let's ask ourselves, and let's be sincere as a nation. How many electric cars do we have in Ghana? Number one. Two, how many charging systems or infrastructure have we put in place to ensure that even when people bring their cars in, they will have that facility available? Take Accra, where we may have 2 or 3. Go to the other regions. There is none. So how do we then expect people to all of a sudden change in behavior and protect the environment when these are not there? So at the end of the day, you realize that you just want to collect the money, but you don't have any objective of even dealing with the environment. And that makes the tax having some misalignment with its objective. So government should have put some measures in place, or maybe some investment to ensure that anybody who brings that car in this country has that facility to be able to maintain the car. So it's like we rushed either to, go and collect the money. The whole of Africa, I think it's only South Africa that has even started. And even with South Africa, the levy is paid on the purchase of the vehicle. You buy, it is when you are buying it. There's no annual renewal. And so the whole policy is more like a revenue objective rather than the environment. We agree that globally, everybody is concerned with the climate, but you have to go slowly. Even United States, with all their manufacturing capacities and the pollution, can we clearly say that they have such taxes available? I haven't seen it. So the timing, I think that is not the best. We should have taken our time, put the measures in place before we roll out these taxes. And I'm not surprised that the people, the transport unions are saying that they're going to pass it on because they feel that they are paying double. That, my view, the timing is not right.
I see. Good point there. Nana, let me come to you. Obviously, you think that the timing is not right. The tax shouldn't be on at this time. But would there be a better timing? I mean, this is a government making a decision. It suffers for it, it gains for it. So if government decides to slap a tax on people at this time, government knows that it's approaching an election, and so the government should be very, well aware of the implications of doing the same. But it's deciding to do it, which means that they find it so necessary to do at this time. Maybe to save the economy, maybe to, as a show of Ghana's contribution to the climate change discussion and all of that. Why should we be concerned about the timing of saying?
Thank you, Selim. Good morning to you, to your viewers. I can also call myself an environmentalist. If you understand the Institute for Energy Security, you want to ensure that you apply sustainability in whatever you do, even in the production of energy and in the consumption. We are looking at the timing, and we say it is wrong. It is wrong because it is going to add on an additional cost and burden to the already distressed Ghanaian. There's a timing. That's why I'll be quick to tell my fellow environmentalists to be measured in their celebration of the imposition of this tax. If you understand the timing and the dealings of particularly government, and I must point to the finance minister, really, you will appreciate that it is not meant to address any climate issue at this point in time. It's just to raise revenue for government. And so the imposition of this levy is going to address somebody's recklessness in managing or mismanaging the economy. That's what we understand clearly from IES perspective. If you want to impose a levy or probably apply a policy, we still mention that timing is important. You see, Europe was migrating and is still in the process of migrating to a greener environment. That's why we are all seeking to look at alternative forms of fuel that will take away the fossil fuels, which are the largest contributors to climate issues. But when COVID struck, and then they had the Ukraine-Russia war, supply of gas became an issue for the whole of Europe. They went back, bringing back the nuclear power, the coal power station that have been decommissioned because they have to survive at that point. They needed electricity. And they were not getting the oil, they were not getting the natural gas. They went back to it. Other than that, the economy was going to collapse. If your economy collapses, what's the use of emission tax? What's the use of solar? They went back to restore them. And they are still in the process of probably find a balance and go back to the path of energy transition. We sit here in Ghana, we are cutting trees for galamsey. And if you want to address climate issues, then you want to look at the issue of deforestation or afforestation. Because the same trees that we have, if you cut them, they emit carbon when you cut them. If you let them stand and you grow more, they capture the carbons.
Carbon dioxide, yeah.
Almost 9% of the global contribution of emission comes from deforestation. The reverse will add on to it as positive. And so why are we sitting down watching galamsey going on? And you come and tell me I should pay emission tax when you are patronizing something that is wrong in the system. You're not dealing with it. Again, you are asking me to migrate to another form of mobility that is greener, using electric vehicles and the rest. Where is the infrastructure? What are the incentives for me to patronize that? You see, when you put in place the infrastructure and the incentives, people willingly will migrate. But we don't have these infrastructures. And they say, I must be punished for driving my petrol car and my diesel car. Meanwhile, this money you are collecting today is just to raise money for government to spend and not to address climate issues. We sat here, Salom, and we went to bring in companies from Europe to come and manufacture internal combustion engines in Ghana and cars, and we celebrated it. 3-4 years after, you are telling me that I shouldn't use an internal combustion engine. You are telling me I must migrate because I will not be getting spare parts. Meanwhile, you're going to bring them back. People that they are being, you see, ICE or internal combustion engines, by then 2030 thereabouts in Europe and the Americas, most of them, they will have to pay penalty, the producers of this car, before they can pay. That's why they are looking for another continent to go and do their business. And we receive them here, and we celebrate them. And after a few years, you come and tell me I should pay emission tax when I'm already paying pollution tax. We think that this is double taxation, and we believe that if we let this one slide, we'll be helping somebody to address some recklessness that were created.
Talking about the infrastructure for the electric vehicle, I think sometime in September, Bamia went to the solar taxi and said that government was going to look at the idea of bringing in electric vehicels, etc., etc. So I'm sure.
So will you want to put the cart before the horse?
That's on the drawing board.
Good.
That's on it. But speaking about just raising revenue, but that's what the vice president has said. So
it's unbelievable.
I'll give him benefit of the doubt. Talking about raising money for government, the finance minister made us aware in the 2024 budget that Ghana earned some $4.8 million by reducing nearly 1 million tons of carbon emissions through forest conservation and degradation prevention. And according to him, there's the expectation of earning up to 45 million by the close of 2024. So how do you earn that? Because when you are able to reduce the carbon emissions, then your carbon credits go up, and then you can be eligible to benefit more from these resources in the international, carbon or international climate change, arena. So what he's doing may be killing two birds with one stone, helping us reduce the emissions, whilst also improving our carbon credits, so we can benefit up to about 45 million that he projects in the budget. So, for example, I just did some back of the envelope calculation using. So, if we can have the emissions slide on the screen. So, using, let's say, the 100 Citi per vehicle in 2022, we're told by the transport minister that we have 3.2 million vehicles in Ghana. Assuming all those vehicles will fall within even the 150. The 150 category, which clearly is not the case. Multiply 150 by 3.2 million, you'll be approaching more than 500 million cities. All right. When you do that, if you convert it to dollars, you realize that you may be getting to half of this. That is raising quite some money, dealing with the issue of climate change and emissions, getting money internally, and then unlocking some of the climate money from abroad as well, bringing money to the system, killing two birds with one stone. That is innovative, isn't it?
Salem, thank you very much. Getting that money from abroad is based on you reducing your emissions, right?
Yes.
True or false?
True.
Okay. So I impose on you that tax. Are you telling me when I impose on you that tax today, as Salem, it's going to reduce carbon emission?
Maybe if I have to drive to the supermarket, I'll walk.
You won't use your car again.
Maybe no, I'll use it, but I'll be careful. I will walk. If I can walk 5 minutes, I will walk rather than use the car because I know I'll pay more if I use the car.
Okay, so they're asking Ghanaians to begin to walk. Thank you.
To use other alternatives, maybe ride a bicycle.
Okay. Bicycle, okay. Walk, bicycle. What again can you do when you get the tax imposed on you?
Walk, bicycle. These are the two avenues I think for now.
So now the imposition of the tax is going to encourage Ghanaians to walk and ride bicycles. How many bicycle lanes do you have in the country?
No, we do not have, but in the north, for example, we don't have bicycle lanes, but we have a lot of them riding bicycles.
Okay. I can bet you. Count the number of cars today. Come back after 4 years. Salem, go and count the number of cars, internal combustion engine cars that you have in the system. It's still going to increase because there are no alternative forms of mobility that is good enough to enhance production and economic growth. Are you getting me? What it's going to do is that the taxi driver, the transport owner, whoever that you impose this on, will find a way, particularly those who transport us, and pass this cost on to the consumer.
So in the end, it's a consumer that will be struggling and suffering.
Okay. And note this, how much is that truck driver going to pay? Let's say 150, right? He passed on to the consumer by increasing fare by 1 cedi.
Maybe 20 pesos.
20 pesos. Multiply 20 pesos by 365 days and see how much has been recouped. Far beyond the 150 Ghana. In fact, it's going to help it's going to create money,
more money than what
for the transporters. That's going to burden the ordinary Ghanaian. So are you telling me that when you impose this tax, there will be a reduction in the emission that we have today? Nope. Because there are no other alternatives to fall on. I sat in my car from motorway roundabout to Bombaria yesterday in the evening. I spent 1.5 hours in traffic. Why don't you decongest the system? Why don't you do that? That's 1.5 hours in my car. Do you know how much I emitted? If I had that free flow, I would have emitted less, far less. A journey that takes less than 7 minutes to go
Took more than 1 hour.
took more than 1.5 hours for me to get to Bombaria.
Wow.
Salom,
I see.
this is counterproductive. It is regressive.
I see. Baba, people think that, of course, Franklin Kuju and a few other people, and we know it, that whoever takes over in 2025 will have a difficulty because the economy really is not in good shape. You will need money. Now, we can't even go to the international capital market. These are internal means of raising funds. If you guys oppose this, opposing e-levy, because you're on record to have said that when you come, you will scrap e-levy, the party, and you're opposing this one, opposing 15% VAT and all of that, are you not, sabotaging yourselves? When you come, the external sources you get money from have been blocked because of 1 or 2 reasons. We don't have access to the international market. Are you not, sabotaging yourself because you want to come to power 2025? How are you going to raise money to do all of this?
You see, Salom, before I answer your question, let me just add something small to Nana. When you talk about imposing the taxes to reduce the emission, can't we do it the other way around? Can't we increase our forest cover instead of doing all this galamsey and all this? Why the president put his presidency on the line that is going to stop galamsey? In fact, it is worse off now. Go back to the rivers and see whether anything has changed. Do you understand? It is rather reducing our forest cover, which is also creating all these problems that we have. Do you understand? So I think that one of the policies of the NDC, if we should have the opportunity, is to increase our forest cover and make sure that we increase our credit in terms of the carbon distance. So that's one. Now, the second thing is that Anyagba asked me some questions that what will we do alternatively, or what is the alternative? You understand? You see, I'm surprised when MPP speaks and forget about what they told the people of this country when they were coming. I mean, the current presidential candidate and the vice president, he made it clear. Their policy is going to be what? Taxation to production or whatever.
Yeah, but indeed, when they came, they did reduce some taxes. They called them nuisance taxes.
Yes,
at the
that
time.
was politically motivated.
That was the time the economy
That was their first. That was their first budget. It was politically motivated, and in fact, they reduced. And once they reduced, even existing taxes, after some time they started increasing them. VAT. Where was VAT when they came? Where is VAT today? Do you understand? So those political things that they did is not something that I would want to even dwell on. Now, you are talking about how do we manage the coping? We all acknowledge, in fact, a 10-year-old child will know that today we are in a deep pit, that any government that takes over will do what? Will suffer to really realign. But of course, fortunately for us, we have an experienced hand who is coming. He has been there before. So he knows what he will do to do what. Because having the benefit of hindsight and sitting back to see what is going, he has already outlined what he will do, even in terms of ministers. He says he's going to do system ministers. Do you understand? From 123, which was reduced to about 80 something now. He said he will do 60 ministers. These 60 ministers, you don't know how much we are going to save with that one alone. That one alone. Reducing the minister. You don't know how much we're going to save. He has also told you there are so many duplications of institutions. You understand? They say special initiative for youth, under presidency, special this day, under presidency, special this day, all those things, we are going to combine them. Do you understand? We are going to, those who are not necessary, we are going to cut them off. Those who are necessary, we are going to combine them. We are going to make sure that we streamline government business. That's will save this country so much money. And you see, it's not only about taxes and taxes and taxes. It's also about the people who are managing the taxes. So it's not only about the taxes. You may take the whole taxes across the world, but if you are not a good manager of the economy, you mess up.
You still struggle. But deal with my question about how you intend to raise money.
No, that's what I'm telling you. Raising money also means...
You will reduce expenditure.
Yes,
you will reduce
of course. Raising money means also cutting down expenditures also shows that you are raising money. Because you will be saving a lot to apply it to other places. Do you understand? So that is those aspects that we're looking at. We have told you when we come. For example, today, whether you like it or not, Okada has become a business. Okada, it has become a business.
You are reviving this Okada matter?
No. Oh, of course. We have always stood by the Okada people, and we'll still go with them. When we come, we have made it clear. We'll streamline their affairs.
You don't care about the nuisance they cause in the system?
No. They cause nuisance because one of the problems is that we have not built our infrastructure to accommodate them.
So we will build it?
No, we'll try. We'll do something about it.
So we build it before we legalize it?
No. Let me tell you. It has come to us already. So what you need to do is to streamline it alongside building the infrastructure for them.
And that's what you will do?
Yes, of course. Alongside building infrastructure for them.
And
because, for example, can be a source of taxes for the country.
Will help the country.
That will be a source of taxes for the country. Because you see, now, do you know the number of motorbikes you have even in Accra alone? You don't know. So we want to make it clear that, one, we are more experienced. We have
more experience
in terms of governance.
You're adding the PNDC to it?
Oh,
because after that, all of you will be
the
at the same level.
The PNDC was combined.
What I mean is, you've all done eight.
No, I'm saying that the PNDC is a combined force. Both MPP and NDC.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that if you say you are more experienced, I don't think so.
Do you know why I'm saying we are more experienced? Because, one, we have our presidential candidate who has ever been 4 years vice president,
And
4 years president,
But
and
this
he's
one
not
is-
coming.
has been
He's
8
not
years-
coming back.
8 years vice
He's not
president.
coming back. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Beside that, we have a lot of people who have been in government and having the hindsight of sitting behind.
Same as
No, not that much. They didn't, when Kweku Fuadu came, he didn't have many experience. That's why they are messing up. The current foreign finance minister is messing up because he brought his banking experience in here. And he didn't know that finance is bigger than banking. You understand? So when he came in, he came and messed up. And all this messing up is because he has surrounded himself with only bankers from his institution, and they are not helping the way we help. When Ayaba was speaking, he said that they are hit with. People always forget that NDC was also hit. John Mahama was also hit by Ebola.
Ebola?
Ebola.
But Ghana didn't suffer Ebola.
Oh, no, brother. Hold on.
No,
Hold on.
We prepared for it, but there was no Ebola.
Ebola was
Hold on.
And in
if
terms
we
of the
were
magnitude,
able, if we
Ebola was mostly in Africa.
you see, if we, as a government then, were able to manage ourselves in such a way that we prevented it, not only that, we even housed the headquarters of Ebola here and used this place as a distribution center, and the country didn't suffer any Ebola occasion. That shows the type of managers we were.
No, because we
I'm
didn't.
just I'm just bringing you our experience.
We didn't detect any case.
I am just bringing you the experience that we have. That if we were to be hit by
Ebola,
COVID, we would have done things better. We wouldn't have gone on the streets distributing food haphazardly and creating all the nuisance that we created on the street. We won't do it. Do you understand? I'm just telling you that you are talking about a government who is asking us our alternatives. And I'm telling you that we will do things. And
indeed, you even
better.
had a COVID-19 technical team that was ready to hit the ground running.
You know when they were doing the COVID-19, during the COVID-19, we also had our team.
Yes, that's what
So
I'm saying
it tells you
that
we are ready to take governance. We know what to do at what time. We are more experienced and we have managed this country better, and they themselves admit that a lot of things we did better. It's not like you come and
I'm not sure Richard will agree.
But Richard will agree because he knows. Anytime we meet, I tell him that you yourself, you know you are messing up. It's not as if you know it.
All right, so Richard, there you have it. But I'm, some of us following the space are quite concerned why you slap a flat figure on vehicles in the same category. So, for example, if I use a 1.5 capacity engine, I'll pay this, and the car is new. I'll pay the same as a car that is 50 years old with the same capacity. Meanwhile, the car that is 50 years old may be emitting more than my new car. Why didn't we say that, for example, if your car is between 1 to 10 years, you pay this, between 10 to 15 years, you pay that, so that it will be punitive for people wanting to bring in old cars or people who will be using old cars? Why did we slap it generally across the board that way? Well, I know you want to respond to a few things that Baba has said, but just do it my question for me.
We already have that punitive tax there. So when you import a vehicle older than 10 years, I think you will have to pay that tax. So that's already on our books. But then you see, I agree with the conversation about implementation. That how do we do it? I think the same challenge was encountered when the luxury tax was implemented a while ago. How do you really do it so it is addressing the problem you want to solve? There is no one best way of doing it. You have to keep finding your arrangement till you get it. So this is, for me, the best of many approaches that has been decided upon. And then generally speaking, there's consensus in the room that it has environmental implication, responsibility as a citizen of the global space to be able to live up to. So I think there's no dispute about that. The only slight pain that I had was Nana Amwesi talking about the tax is to address somebody's recklessness. I think it's quite unfortunate a statement for him to make. if you agree you're an environmentalist, I think you focus on the environmental outcome of that tax. And I think that his colleague in the studio got it right, and I think he got it wrong on that score. He was doing a bit more of NDC propaganda, but I'll leave it there.
But if he says that we're not seeing much of the taxes we are collecting, and that he doesn't think that this particular emissions levy really is to deal with any climate change matter, and he gave reasons for that, and he thinks it's just a revenue generating move. It's within his right to say so, and then he may be right.
No, he says so, but the point where he says that the tax is to address someone's recklessness.
No, but I think the view on the street is that the economy has not been managed well. The view on the street is that the economy has not been managed well. So if he is of that view as well, that's fine.
Salom, that is not true. That is not true. It's only in Ghana we don't stick with the fact. I'm intrigued to hear my brother Baba Jamal talk about they are better managers of the economy doing what? Taxing? The NDC proposition is only tax.
No, but you've exceeded that. You've beaten them to it.
Drive. Salom, just 1 second. You see a government with their proposition, what they want to do. So we went to Cote d'Ivoire. We are judging our coach. He didn't produce because his strategy to win the cup did not pan out. When NDC comes in, you ask my brother Baba Jamal, what is their economic proposition? I want to know the name of it. What is their policy disposition? Ours, is production driven. And any day, that's what we'll implement. And that policy approach has been shown globally to have yielded results. Now, the situation we are in, where I've explained to you, it is not true that this government has mismanaged this economy. It cannot be true. It will not be true, except that when people are doing propaganda. That's why I'm trying to correct Nana to say that. You say that this tax is to correct somebody's recklessness. It is not true. You are falling for NDC's propaganda, and I pray that you move away from it. Let's be rational and about what is it that is happening.
Very well.
Okay? The conversation has carried on, Salom, in the studio about the tax not necessarily addressing the climate change component of its conception. So therefore, it is only exclusively to raise revenue. You can rationalize that. Because the very fair point of, okay, well, the infrastructures are not in place to be able to, have electric vehicles. We don't have electric vehicles in the country. But if you're a developing country like Ghana, at what point will you be sufficiently ready to transition to that? What will the government have to do? Will the government have to find money from somewhere, invest in those infrastructure? You pick one end to begin, okay? Which end is that, okay, well, we put the tax, it becomes a disincentive, or more or less an incentive for people to say that I don't want to be paying this tax, so therefore the next time I get a vehicle, I want an electric vehicle. It has the potential to catalyze that attitudinal change, okay? The tax has the potential, even in this present form, it has that potential to do that. And so whilst you may want to emphasize that, okay, well, we want the infrastructure, then you can put the tax. It is also practical to say that I want to change this behavior. By levying this behavior as not acceptable, you force people to move away from that, or you cause people to move away from that. So that's also can be the strategy here. But generally speaking, we have agreed, and I've proceeded, and then some of you, before you went on the break, you referenced my national organizer who made a comment yesterday saying the timing is wrong. Generally, in view of the difficulty, one can say that. But the point remains that the difficult situation that you are in requires to, raise revenue to address your present temporal situation of economic difficulty, so that you are able to bring everybody along out of the difficulty. And once you do that, then you can relax those taxes. I told you earlier that the New Patriotic Party in 2017 will remove taxes, about 15 taxes that were on the books when we came in. An additional 4 of them, we reduced the rates of them. And all through 17, 18, and 19, we've been managing the situation up until we run into a difficult situation of the COVID, where this thing had to come in. So therefore, anybody who makes the case that we have recklessly managed this economy cannot be said to be true. Earlier on, Baba Jamal talked about this government having borrowed now to about 673 billion or something like that. And therefore, we have borrowed exceedingly more. That's exactly not true. You see, when the NDC talk about this, they talk about the absolute numbers. And Baba Jamal talked about the tax not being examined in absolute terms. So why is he singling out the debt numbers, looking at them and analyzing them in absolute terms? But when it comes to the tax, he said that's why we should disaggregate that and analyze it as a unit. When you take the debt the NDC inherited in 2009 when it came into government, the sum of government's debt at the time was about 9.5 billion. The NDC, when they left office, they brought it to 120 billion, depending on what rate you are using, about 122 billion. That is almost about 13 times increase in the debt volume that they have added to the national debt when they came into office. From 9.5 to about 120 billion is about 12, 13 times. Now, you have a situation where today, if you look at the rate of increase in our national debt, it is not quite what the NDC did. It's about 5.66%, okay, rate of increase. So you cannot say that this government has mismanaged. That is even taking account of COVID and the attendant global economic situation that created currency situations for us. So therefore, our currency faltered, and therefore our debt increased, even though we didn't borrow additional. We didn't go to borrow additionally. So our debt increased in virtue of the performance of the Citi, which was a global financial situation.
Yeah. So what others have said, others who support the tax, what they have said is that they disagree with the proceeds from the tax going into the consolidated fund, for example. There should be a special fund into which that money will go so they can track it properly. Do you support that suggestion? Or you think consolidated fund it is, so it should go there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Parliament was aware when they passed the law, they could have revised that or create a special purpose account for it. But what Parliament has done is what it has done. The two of us, we can talk, but that is not the law.
No, but of course, that may not be the law. But you also said that in the implementation, we can see what we can tweak here and there, and then Parliament later will come back and do something. So do you think it's a good proposition? Is it something Ahiangba will call for? That, for example, let's put the money in another fund to be created by Parliament so the administration of it, tracking it, etc., becomes more transparent and the people will be happy. Is it something you will call for?
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's any problem with the arrangement. It goes to consolidated fund because ultimately government will account for whatever money is spent within the fiscal year. So really, that is not a major point. The key point is that we're at a point where the situation are tough, and our citizens are saying that, okay, well, that tax may be creating problem. Government is fully aware, government is sensitive to that, and that's the reason I said to you earlier, the finance ministry was keen on having to engage beyond the engagement that took place with Parliament. And so the conversation...
I think I lost Richard. I think I lost Richard. We'll get him back. Francis, what's your take on a special fund receiving this money so that it's more transparent and administration of it is easier?
I agree with you, Solomon, because if you look at other countries where they are pursuing these environmental objectives, the money is not available for government to use as the general fund. We should dedicate it to some special fund where we can do more to, promote greener, energy. Government should be able to provide solar or even the electric cars. What is government doing in that instance? For example, this automotive policy which government came, I think that straight away we should just go and tell them that we don't want you to produce any internal combustion engines any longer. Come up with electric cars. And I will even advocate for, a more tax incentive for any company that intends to go into electric car manufacturing, so that 20 years, 30 years tax holiday, equipment that they bring to assemble those cars, they should have free, so that the thing becomes more affordable. you don't expect me to, go and pay $26,000 for electric cars, and then you come and punish me and for 150 cedis for buying, engine cars. I think that there must be a holistic view of what we really want to achieve. If the protection of the environment is what we really need, then we should not be having those, conflicting policies. We have brought these companies from Europe, and he said that they should come and assemble cars in Ghana. They are producing engine cars. Yet we are trying to advocate for electric cars. So what are we trying to achieve? We should look at it in a holistic manner, in my view.
Okay, I don't know if you are the one to answer this question, but there are some vehicles which use LPG, and the emissions from LPG vehicles are way lower than those ones which use a hydrocarbon or the fossil fuels, properly so-called, diesel, petrol, etc. But they are paying the same thing. Should it be looked at again, or you think they are insignificant, so we can just go ahead with what we have?
Salom, the focus is not on the quality of the fuel. I think that the classification is either anything that burns fuel, the assumption is that you are polluting the environment, and therefore, whether you are using the most premium quality, it doesn't matter here. And like I mentioned, we already have the law which slaps pollution levy on every liter we buy. And so bringing this, which is focused on the engine capacity, looks like a double taxation. So government should have chosen one. And again, we are expecting just 451 million cedis from this, emission tax. I was of the view that if the 10 pesos is giving us over 500, close to 600 million cedis, why couldn't we have engaged the public and say, okay, let's go back and make it maybe 15 pesos? That in that way, you are rather, influencing behavior, and you are protecting the environment. Instead of me driving or two people driving from here to Kumasi, they could use one so that they minimize their fuel consumption. I am of the view that still there are avenues or there are opportunities for us to refine this law, maybe come the mid-year budget. And we should look at it, just like we looked at the luxury tax, which we passed some years ago, which had the same objective for protecting the environment, and later we withdrew it.
Thank you so much, Francis. Yes, Mr. Yamwa. So generally, Ahangba agrees with your view that if Parliament could set up a fund into which this money will be paid into, it's one of the major points you have raised, that it's good, it should remain, but your only concern is administration of the funds. So that, of course, Ahangba is not Parliament, but he's a good voice in the party that can push for that. Apart from that, do you have any other, concern with this particular levy?
There are several aspects of the levy that we haven't looked at, and then I find it quite troublesome when we are only focusing on what individual users or households will pay. We seem not to appreciate the perspective that manufacturing industries, extractive industry, construction industry are also categorized in this levy. And then these people, this category of companies these sectors are people that are polluting more. So
what they pay is different. They pay 100 cedis per month. Per month.
Yes, per month.
That's way more.
Yes, that's way more. But then if we are suggesting that the emission levy tax is a nuisance, what we are just trying to say is that scrap everything off without recourse to what the manufacturing and then the others are doing. So I find that a bit problematic. It has been as though from the onset the discussion have been centered on one part of it, which we should relook at. I believe that, yes, like you said, it is very unfair and unjust. And as we said in our communique as Isaac, that it is very unfair to levy people using a 1.0 vehicle and then those within the 3.0 range. I think that it could be categorized. Let's say, for instance, 1.0 to 1.5 are paying a certain amount. 1.5 to 2.0 are paying a certain amount. That would have been a bit fair. But then lumping them together is problematic because you could have a car that was produced in 2010. It has an engine capacity of 1.0. It's likely to emit more than a car that is 3.0 then produced in 2020. So these are the dynamics I want us to look at. We are talking about transitioning, energy transition, and then I'm very particular about that because that is why you invited me here. And that is my role. And then we also have to make noise about that. if we are talking about energy transition, if we do not make a move today, definitely we are going to suffer.
But the whole discussion about energy transition is the West, I mean, being honest with us. So, for example, I mean, sometime last year, the UK stopped drilling in the North Sea. When things happened, I mean, Prime Minister gave the go-ahead for them to go drill one of the biggest wells in history in that part in Scotland, for example, making nonsense of all the energy transition discussions that have been ongoing, etc. So now they come back to tell us that we should do this. So is there honesty in that discussion at all?
So it is an yes and a no question. Let me explain it from this perspective. And then I seem to appreciate the perspective the current energy minister most often comes from.
So he said, no, they will do it.
Energy transition at our terms.
Yes, because now we have it.
Yes.
And you use the coal and the fossil
to
fuel
develop your countries. And
now that we are getting ours,
so
you are telling us to transition.
It should be a gradual process. That is why when you look at the energy transition framework, it is targeted from 2022 to 2070. We are not looking at or rushing to transit within the next 2 years. It is a gradual process. This is what I want Ghanaians to understand. The fact that it is a gradual process doesn't mean that instantly we are phasing out all fossil fuel cars. That is a fallacy out there.
No, but the funding for it, so for example, if you are a company wanting to drill oil, for example, you come with credit, etc.
Right.
The banks and institutions in the West are unwilling to release credit to you for the purposes of exploring and drilling because of this whole discussion about energy transition and polluting the environment. So even though, yes, it's not instant, the effect of it will feel because we do not have the money to do the exploration and the drilling. The guys with the money will not release the money to the companies to come and do it, so we suffer.
Okay, so that is a challenge we face as developing countries. But then I doubt the Europeans have dictated to the Arabs that, look, if you are not transiting, because they already have the funds to do that.
Yes.
So
it's our loss.
Yes, it's our loss. That is why we also have to look at what we could do to help ourselves out. As much as we are bent on one, producing petroleum products, we should also be looking at it from the market perspective. In the long run, our biggest market will be exporting it. And then if these Europeans and then Americans and the others are not patronizing it, we would run at a loss. That is why I am of the view that we do it progressively. We shouldn't rush into it. Okay, we shouldn't say that.
So the other part, so progress is good. And how do we measure the progress, for example? Now, in all major decisions, there's this thing we call the ESG. The environment, sustainability, and governance. The environment and the sustainability bits are related to climate.
Right.
So if you don't have these things in your policies, etc., you do not benefit. Nobody looks at you.
Sure.
So even though they tell us it's gradual, there's a way they are forcing us to do it at a faster pace than we can take. And that is counterproductive.
Okay, so what I believe that oil production companies should be looking at is one, investing into carbon capture technologies. That is what the Europeans are also trying to do. And then by that, they will be contributing towards the ESG you are talking about, sustainability reporting. That is what we should also be keen at. And then I would use this opportunity to plead with my senior brother at IES that we should also steadfast the advocacy on making sure that, one, oil and gas companies are transparent with their sustainability reporting. And then once they are there, we would gradually be inching towards that direction. So it is a conversation that we should be looking at from a broader perspective. If we narrow it, it's going to be very difficult for us to transition. So like I said earlier, we should not necessarily see the emission levy as that which is phasing out fossil fuel cars instantly. No, that is not the aim. And I believe that, I'm not speaking for government, but then I believe that is the intent behind the bill.
But then I mentioned the alternative.
Yes.
So for example, what's the alternative? If you are punishing me in quotes
for using
fossil
that is what I want to address.
Okay.
If you look at the Europeans who have even implemented these energy transition stuff, they did not phase out the fossil fuel cars instantly. And then even when they were introducing some of these policies...
And fossil fuel cars are still there.
Yeah, they are still there. They are still manufacturing that. So it is not... That's why I'm saying that we shouldn't misconstrue as though we are facing the fossil fuel cars out instantly. Even with the Europeans, like I'm saying, when they are still manufacturing fossil fuel cars. And then over here in Ghana...
The assembly here.
But then ask yourself, what is the percentage of electric vehicles they are doing? That is why I'm saying that it is a progressive... it's a progressive agenda. It shouldn't be as though we are pushing everything on the throat of Ghanaians, because we have been talking about electric cars. How is government going to generate that revenue if he's not taxing you through the emissions levy? That is why in our communique, as I said, we suggested that the funds that will be generated or accrued from the emissions levy should be channeled towards green projects. And these are some of the stuff we are talking about.
And for now, do we know how we're going to channel these resources we're going to raise from the emissions?
That is why I'm saying that, one, there are some lapses in the levy that we find problematic.
So the process should be big on afforestation.
Yes, afforestation, I believe in that. Because one, if there is an afforestation project, these trees are going to capture the carbon, like Nana Mwesi said. And then in 2018, I was happy with the Forestry Commission when they started the afforestation program in 2018. But then what is it state today? It's in a shamble. Because there is lack of resources.
The trees, lack of resources?
Yes.
The trees, nobody cares. The trees, they die.
The trees are dying.
No, 5 million trees, 10 million trees on paper, and we don't see the trees.
That is the approach we are taking.
It's good on paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but let me explain that you would understand me.
Yeah.
Almost 100,000 people were recruited to plant trees. And trust me, when you go to most of these forest zones, you realize that some of the trees were doing well. Until now, some are doing well. But then when the program, when resources ran out, now they had no option than to stop, and the trees will die out. But if there is a sustainable approach of financing the project, that would have yielded some level of resources. That is the angle I'm coming from. So it's not as though on paper. But us as CSOs should be also tasking government. That what are you doing with our monies? If, for instance, I'm saying 20% if there is an emissions fund, and then let's say 20% of that fund goes to a forestry commission, embark on afforestation project. One, we are not only salvaging our environment, we are also creating employment avenue. We've been talking about unemployment, but then there are several ways we could raise avenue even from the environment. That is one aspect we have not been looking at. And then I would plead with the government to listen, that they should establish an emissions fund rather than the consolidated funds to make it more accountable. Because if it is accountable, we should be able to tell that X amount has been used for Y activity. You get it? So that is the angle I'm talking about. And then now we should also understand that the GPRTU are raising concerns that they will pass down the cost to consumers. Yes, it is right. And then we expected such things. But then at what rate? That is what we should be looking at. If you are paying 150 cedis per year, and then you tell me you're increasing fuel transportation cost by 1 cedi, you are being unfair.
Even by 10 pesos.
Yeah, so that is where government comes in. Transport ministry has to regulate them. You don't sit for them to dictate to you always. And then the Consumer Protection Agency as well. We expect that they would also be on grounds, protect the consumer. Because if you are just paying 150 cedis and you're telling me to pay 1 cedi, that's unfair. But if 10 pesos, 20 pesos, that makes sense.
You lump it together with the other things in the sector, spare parts, fuel, everything, and slap maybe 1 cedi on you.
No, that is why we have to be very deliberate about this.
Very well. Very well. All right, Nana, I think you have the final word on this before
yes, first let me say that to Richard, I understand.
Yeah.
Desperate people say desperate stops.
Richard is a politician.
Yes,
you have to grant him that.
And bleeding is allowed. You see, you can pray that I move away from the truth, but the truth stands. I am a Ghanaian. I'm irritated by the numerous taxes I pay on a liter of fuel. And so if I describe the imposition of this emission levy as nuisance, I am right as a Ghanaian. I know what I feel. I know how my disposable income has been negatively affected. That is allowed. We sat here. ESLA was supposed to generate $650 or $600 million a year. And we had an energy sector legacy debt of $3 billion. So in 5 years, we should have cleared all the debts in the sector. Today, where do we stand? And they say I shouldn't speak? All right. The way forward.
Yes.
Selo, I think that government must invest in decongesting the road. Construct more roads. Ensure that the traffic moves.
Okay, so that
the
we don't have a
emission
lot of
will
traffic. The
go
emission
down.
will go down. Great.
Invest in electric vehicle infrastructure as well. It motivates people to move. And you see, when we come to the issue of energy transition, so do you know this is not the first time we are transitioning as human beings? We depend on our own strengths for energy and to move
Okay.
even goods. Then we came to wood. We came to coal.
Okay.
Before we came to oil and gas.
Yeah.
All this transition, people were not compelled to move. Were not pushed to move. There were incentive for them to migrate.
Yeah, so I'm not sure,
naturally.
are they forcing us? They're encouraging us with incentives.
You said that the Europeans
Yeah.
and people are even telling us not to
drill.
not to drill. Today there's something called net zero.
Yeah, net zero, yes.
If you can generate or probably
balance it out.
balance it
That's
out,
fine.
you don't have a problem. And so Ghana can produce so long as they invest in afforestation to clear or probably into carbon capture, utilization,
Technology,
and storage. We are clear to go. And so it shouldn't stop any oil production as we speak today. We must move.
Very well.
The next thing is that we also must promote waste to energy initiatives and provide incentive for any renewable energy initiative that we want to undertake. And I'm happy that my tax man, Zeta Francis,
yeah.
spoke. Why do we entertain people to produce internal combustion engines in Ghana? And why not promote the other side of renewable energy vehicles or electric vehicles? We must do that. Look at our rail lines. They are not working. From Accra to Tema.
Mpagana will work soon.
If they come on stream, it could help. It could help government and relieve them of all the stress they are going through.
Very well. Thanks so much. You have the final word?
Yes,
Just final word.
I heard Anyamba saying that Nana is falling to the
Propaganda of the
propaganda
NDC.
of the NDC.
I've answered that.
And that he prays that he wouldn't fall. I said, look, this is not. Then he has to organize a national day for prayer because this is not a propaganda of NDC. It's the reality of the Ghanaian. What is happening? We all witnesses the stress we are going through. How our own incomes has been virtually been disposed of, and all those things. These are not things that we need to politicize it. He was saying something about this, that once Parliament takes a decision, it's for the people. I mean, that is the top-down approach, which never works. We should always do the down-top approach, where you engage the stakeholders first. Now get their consensus. Then you now build on it to Parliament.
Very well.
If you want to say that, because Parliament represents the people, that is all, I don't think that will be a best approach to the situation.
Very well. We've been joined by the TUC. Just a quick one on the announced demonstration. Joseph Ansah is Deputy Secretary General of the TUC. Joshua, thanks so much for joining us on the program. We had the announcement, was it yesterday, that you were going to embark on a demonstration for the VAT on electricity. But our understanding is that government has not started implementing that yet. Is that the information you also have?
Good morning, Salam, and good morning to your viewers. I think that's the information we have. But TUC's or the organized labor stand on this matter is that the directive by the finance minister to impose 15% VAT on electricity bill is unfair, and we think that it's something that must be totally withdrawn unconditionally. And we have said in our statement that if government fails to withdraw, that is when on the 13th of this month, there will be a nationwide and massive demonstration in all the 60 regions of this very country.
I see. But have you seen the finance ministers or the finance ministry's release? I mean, it's released that on Tuesday. And it's kind of surprised that despite their call for a dialogue, you have gone ahead, or you are going ahead to announce the demonstration. Don't you think you should wait till you engage them if you are not satisfied with the engagement before you announce the demonstration?
Salam, I think that it is also not fair for the government to give directives before, upon second thought, decide to meet with organized labor. I think organized labor relations in this country has been structured in a way that as a government, as an employer, as unions, we have a structure for which it gives us the opportunity to meet and discuss such a national policy that government want to implement. What stopped the government from doing that? Government did not do that, but rather directed that this imposition of 15% levy on electricity bill should be implemented from 1st of January. Had it not been us rising up and saying that we will not pay, it's unfair, we cannot do it, government wouldn't have gotten the second thought to say that let's call for a dialogue. And the dialogue is a conditional, and the release is a conditional release. It is saying that they want to engage stakeholders, organized labor, for their buy-in. Buy-in into what? Something that you have decided already and want us to buy in with this hardship, with this economic hardship that workers are facing in this very country. In this 2024, we gave a 23% base pay, and on the other side, we are taking 15% on electricity bill. We think that workers in this country cannot bear any more additional burden on us. That is why we have taken that decision.
Very well.
We will not rescind our decision until that thing is withdrawn, Mr. Salom.
So 13th February, you are calling
Yes,
on
please.
all workers to pour out onto the street and demonstrate. How is it going to be like? Is it going to be Accra-centered, or every regional capital is going to have its own demonstration? Talk us through.
It's going to
how it's
happen
work.
simultaneously in the 16 regions of this very country. It's a simultaneous action that is going to take place in the whole country. All the 16 regional capitals will experience that demonstration.
I see. Thank you so much.
Yes.
But we hope your engagement with the. But are you attending the engagement? Or will you attend the dialogue with the finance
We will
minister?
not. We will not until the directive is totally withdrawn.
Oh,
unconditional.
you will not attend. I thought
Yes.
the meeting will be to discuss how it should be worked out.
We think that it should have been before the directive, but it didn't go that way. It is rather the opposite. And as unions, we have taken the decision that we have not, at this time, we are not going to meet with any minister for any discussions. If the minister wants us to have a discussions, then the directive must be totally withdrawn. If it is withdrawn, even if it's withdrawn today, tomorrow we are prepared to meet for further
But
discussions.
it's better late than never. So if the callers come late, why don't you hunker down, go meet them, and then you take a decision
Salam.
from there?
Salam, you see, that has been the behavior of government upon government. And we think that it is time for us to actually put a stop to that. You are governing a country. You have workers, you have citizens to rule over. You have structures for which discussions can be made. Why is it that all the time government wants to just push something on our throat? Then when we talk, they think that we are becoming stubborn or whatever. Nobody's against paying tax or anything, but the processes by which government imposes on us, I think it's becoming too much, and we think that we need to correct that kind of I'll call it a democratic, autocratic decisions by the government. By just imposing anything, and unions are quiet and it passes through. This time around is not going to be like that.
Thank you so much.
That is why we are saying that we don't have that opportunity again to have any discussions with government. If government wants any dialogue, that directive must be withdrawn totally.
Very
Then
well.
we can have a position on that.
Thank you so much, Joshua Ansa,
You're welcome,
Deputy
Salam. You're welcome,
Secretary
Salam.
General
Thank you.
for the TUC. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Thanks so much. This segment of the program, Francis Timoboy.
If you allow
Salam.
Yes.
Salam, just a quick note. I think that
That's
you
Richard.
should
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Please, I think that you should volunteer this education for all of us. It cannot be said that the directive to implement that tax is autocratic. We should acknowledge the democratic structure we have. If we want, like my brother Baba Jamal just said, if we want to change that or want to do additional stuff.
Okay, so your
outside
point is
of
that
what
because it went through Parliament, it cannot be said to be autocratic.
Yes.
It experienced
It cannot be.
the democratic
Exactly,
process.
exactly.
Very well. I think that point
Yes.
is well noted.
So if we want it to be consultative, additionally consultative by meeting and doing these things, let's say so. But it
That's well
cannot be
noted.
said.
That's well taken.
It cannot be said. Thank you.
Salam, I think that if the word autocratic is not sitting well
You
with
take
my
it
brother,
out. You
fine.
withdraw
I'm
it,
taking
but you
out.
still hold your position still stands. Very well.
Yes, I'm taking it out, but
Okay.
we need more consultation.
Very well.
You should have been consulted, you should have been discussed before this policy passed.
Okay.
So that is it.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much.
One of the ingredients of good governance
Yes, it's consultation.
is consultation.
Very well.
And so when
And
you are
Parliament
coming up,
also
when you
provides
are
an avenue for
yes,
that
but when you are
consultation.
coming up with such a major
So you need to
policy,
broadly-
you need to
more broadly consult.
But
Very well.
before I stop, I was just showing you something in the papers today, where roasted plantain, konkonte, and Kofi Brookman have all joined the League of Expensive Foods. So this is the reality of the Ghanaian.
I see.
Now one plantain, you know that is 5 cedis. One plantain is now selling at between 4 and 5 cedis.
It's seasonal. So if the bumper harvest, it
that
goes down.
is the reality.
This is the big issue of 97.3 Citi FM on Citi TV as well. Thanks so much, Kwesi Yamu Abedu, Policy Lead, Climate, Finance and Energy Transition, Joshua Ansa, Deputy Secretary General TUC, Nana Moisi, the 7th Executive Director for Energy Security, Francis Timoboy, Tax Analyst, of course, Baba Jamal, and Richard Ahiagba. And we'll be on the next panel, and we'll be joined by Dr. Issa Asante, Political Science Lecturer at the University of Ghana. Thanks so much, guys. And we'll take a short break. We'll return and get to the more political issues. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back to the big issue. The first part of the show looked at the matter of the imposition of the taxes, emissions levy and the 15% VAT on electricity. Some of your messages that came through, let me just go through a few of them before we move to the next matter. Good morning, Salam. What is the tax being collected? What is the tax being collected going to be used for? Is the public going to be updated, informed at intervals on how much has been collected and what it's being used for? This is from SKD. Continues to say, without a doubt, we pay a myriad of taxes in Ghana with nothing to show for it. We paid road tolls and drove on dilapidated roads or drive on dilapidated roads and dangerous roads. Some even in the immediate environs of where the tolls were collected, still paying COVID levy. Only a couple of days ago, the CBS, the City Breakfast, reviewed the illegal charges meted out on citizens, etc., etc. You know, that's a concern that many have shared. This one says, Salom, we have some EV cars in town. Are they also paying for the emissions levy? No, they are not paying. Good morning, Salom. Are we fighting emissions in Ghana at all? We have to start fighting it by first educating the citizens about the dangers of emission. People are burning rubbish and lorry tires every day without recourse to our environment. Let our government ban burning of tires and rubbish in our environment first before taxing vehicles. That's Ni from Tema. Stephen in New Legon says, please let me ask, are electric vehicles enough at the moment to replace fossil fuel cars, for which reason we must be punished if we don't use electric vehicles? If government is genuinely interested in eliminating the use of fossil fuel vehicles, why is it priding itself in promoting made in Ghana vehicles? Which of these assembly plants are assembling electric vehicles? All right. Jones Adoboy in last says, good morning, Salam. Let's stop comparing apples with oranges. Akufo-Addo's 7 years and counting is just a total mess. He will be only remembered for the hardships he put Ghanaians through. You say Ghanaians are not angry enough. Kwabna Utu in Awo, she says, how does the tax reduce emissions? The tax will be collected whether you use the car or not. So if I have paid, why won't I use my car? The pollution tax on fuel is already being collected. What have we done with that money? It's that kind of tax that will stop people from riding their car. This is more revenue intended at protecting the environment. It's China and US who are the biggest emitters of carbon not imposing such taxes. All right. So we'll move to the next matter, which is the Electoral Commission's proposal to shift the election date from December 7 to November 7. And as I did intimate in my opening remarks, the NDC, or the EC, in the tenure of the NDC in 2015, proposed the idea. But after the 2016 election, nothing was heard of it again till now, another election year. And here we are having this discussion again. The question is, why is the Electoral Commission intending to introduce this in a new or in an election year when indeed there is some unstated consensus among the parties that you do not introduce a new reform in an election year? Indeed, that is not very far from the ECOWAS protocol on democracy and good governance. And Article 2 on elections, Article 2 of Section 2 of that protocol reads, no substantial modification shall be made to the electoral laws in the last 6 months before the elections, except with the consent of a majority of political actors. All the elections shall be organized on the dates or at periods fixed by the Constitution or the electoral laws. Members shall take all appropriate measures to ensure that women have equal rights with men to vote. Okay, so that's different. But the first two articles, the first two sub-clauses of Article 2 are quite, instructive, that no substantial modification shall be made to the electoral laws in the last 6 months before the election, except with the consent of a majority of political actors. Also, all the elections shall be organized on the dates or at periods fixed by the Constitution or the electoral laws, and that's the ECOWAS Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance. I start off with Baba Jamal. Of course, the EC has made a proposal. The NDC says they agree in principle, but they think that it should take effect from election 2028 and not election 2024. Baba, why is your party that was in favor of this some 8-9 years ago now opposed to it at this time?
You see, Selom, fortunately, I have been part and parcel of this process since 2002 when I was the Deputy General Secretary. I was part of the group that went to Akosombo on several occasions to discuss about changing the date of our elections, at least giving 2 months before we can have our inauguration of a new president. So the principle to allow, because the 1 month that we have to transition is always very difficult, especially when a president from a new political party takes over. Do you understand? If it's the same party, the transition is simple. But if it has to do with changing from one government to another, it's a very difficult one. We saw it in 2008, going to 2009, when we had to, the government or the state has to spend money, keep people at the International Conference Center to form of a transitional government within that short period. Do you understand? So it's something that we all need to understand, that all political parties then, with the exception of none, agreed that we should have the date change to November. And that is an acceptable point. But you see, sometimes we don't do ourselves too good. This has been on the drawing board since some years back, and so we all know that someday this thing should change. I remember there was even some agreement that our General Secretary signed to agree to agreeing with this transition. It has been there, so we could have implemented it long time ago. The Electoral Commission today, that's why I'm surprised about this woman. You see, when you go and sit down and say that...
Is that a decision of the chairman or the
I'm coming.
I'll
come to that. I'm coming to that. She now chairs the commission.
Let me say this woman, it personalizes it, doesn't it? To the commission.
But she is the one I'm talking to. Because she's the one I'm surprised about.
Okay.
I don't expect certain things to happen under her supervision. Because she was then heading IEA. And we know the things we did with her. And her positions and dispositions. So I'm surprised today now she's in the Electoral Commission and she's doing everything opposite to what she used to believe.
The reality, I mean, what she was doing was advocacy.
Look,
now it's a reality.
Yes, but you see, it shows dishonesty if you can be that sharply change your position. What I'm saying is that when we're in IEA, parties without seats in Parliament were not allowed to sit around the General Secretary's forum. So that time I know we started with NDC, MPP, CPP then was, PNC. And then PNC. Then later I think MPNC went out, CPP also went out, and then it became those NDC, two, MPP. NDC, MPP. Why was that position? Because we said that those smaller political parties, one, did not have the clout to even win one seat, because CPP had one seat, but it was good enough to sit there. Now, two, that should encourage them to do more so that they can also come to the table of men, more or less, if I should put it that way. Now, this same woman goes to Electoral Commission and now feels comfortable to say all those smaller parties will come and talk, and then their majority overrides MPP and NDC. Do you understand? Because that time, all these parties, put their votes together, they don't get 5%. So it means that the two political parties are, I'm not saying or by any father's implication that they don't have anything to offer. No, that's not my position. They have things to offer. But definitely when you go to have a meeting with your fathers and your uncles, do you understand?
You talk less.
You talk less. It's simple. When you go to have a meeting with your fathers and uncles, you talk less. So if you say that you go and you want to have the same right with your fathers or uncles, what will happen? So this time, this thing, we are not opposed to it. We are saying that we cannot use it this year.
But why can't
As
you use it
had
this year?
been the decision earlier, the idea was that, you see, there had been a point that through the IEA forum, we all agreed that major decisions taken should not affect immediate elections, should affect subsequent elections. Do you understand?
But the IEA forum is not law.
No.
It's
No.
something
see,
you guys have
IEA
discussed.
forum, I must commend them. Really helped to shape a
Is
lot
it still
of
there?
political. I don't. Yeah, I think it's still there.
The NDC is still part of that forum.
I can't talk to that now. But the IEA, I'm telling you, especially from the 2000s up to the 2010-12 coming down, IEA really helped to shape the political parties.
And the debates and all
And
that.
the
they did.
debate, their organization, internal structures, the meetings that we had together and all the things, they will take us to maybe Akosombo, they will take us to places, you go and stay there for 3-4 days together. You see, they really foster some unity, which I commend them for. And it was all under this Jim Mensah. And I commended that time. So that's why I'm surprised at her. That's what I'm personalizing it to her. I'm surprised at her because the way she's supported the political parties and for that matter, the democracy in this country, she shouldn't go this low when it comes to this issue. Now, you are saying that you want to change the date. The principle is correct. The political parties are saying that, look, looking at the stakes.
The political, but the end is just the NDC.
Of course, the NDC controls 137 seats in this country, about half of the whole nation. So you cannot say that NDC's voice must not be listened. Do you understand? So that's what I'm saying, that even let's take it that it's only NDC. We are saying that this decision, because if you look at the ECOWAS protocol, they are saying major decision in election year. Do you understand? Now, changing the date of voting is not only major, it's fundamental. It's not only major, it's fundamental. So if you come and say we want to change it and use it this year, look, she could have even started some 4 years back because this is not her first election. Do you understand? After 2020, she could have started this process in 2021. Do you understand? Starting to engage the political parties and say, look, we will do what? In 2024, we are going to vote in November. From that time, we could have planned. Let me tell you, every political party today, by this time, we have all our strategies planned. We have all our campaign strategies all being planned. We have now finished with the election of our presidential candidate. We have finished with the election of all our parliamentary candidates. In this month or early next month, our vice presidential candidate will be outdoored. Now, so we have our plans done. Now you are coming to tell us that we should now come and change to November. That's why we are saying that. What is the rush on this? There's no rush. You know, Ghanaians do. The interesting aspect, I was with somebody on the radio, and then they are putting even superstitious beliefs into it, saying that because they have seen that they will lose the election, because the election falls on a Saturday, they want to change it and all these things. People bring all funny ideas into it. But if we agree, yes, we all agree, but it will take effect in 2028. So every political party will know
plans
that.
Towards that.
It will plan towards that. So in 2028, we know the election will be in November. Even the public will be prepared towards it. I am of the view that in even enacting any law in terms of that or changing the laws, because this is a constitutional provision when it comes to the presidential one, even in changing the laws, we should try and look at even the day. Because Ghana, every day is assigned to something. So let's start with Saturday. Saturday we have the 7th those who believe in Saturday churches.
Yeah.
Sunday, we have the Christian majority going for Sunday. Monday is the day I think that has no any religious or tribal inclinations like this that I know.
So Monday you think is a safer day?
But Monday is a safer day.
So we can say the first Monday of
November, Monday of every
like the Americans
November.
do.
Like, yes. If you come to Tuesday, there are a lot of places that we don't go to farm
and things,
even on Tuesday.
Yeah, the sea and all of
you
that.
know, yeah, the sea. In fact, when you come to our place, Akotia area, the whole of the Brim, all that Chim area, Brim is believed to be Abena. So on Tuesdays, we don't go into Brim and do a lot of things in Brim.
I see.
You understand? When you come to Wednesday too, we have some, especially the traditionalists, use a lot of Wednesdays. Do you understand?
So it appears only Monday.
It
But that,
appears
you're
only
thinking
that-
the discussion should
so
grow to that
I think
extent.
that we can put it that, okay, every Monday, and you see there's even a strong advocacy saying that we should even make that day a holiday. So people will be what? Will be prepared to dedicate themselves, because it's once in a four years. We can take all that on board. But to rush us to say we should go for the election this November.
So that'll be too
definitely is not
drastic.
the best.
Very well. Let me speak to Richard. Richard is with the governing New Patriotic Party. They seem not to have any problem at all with this. Richard, the fact that it's an election year, and in fact the ECOWAS protocol I just read out suggests that in election years no major reform to the electoral calendar more or less should happen, it appears to be weighing in heavily on the discussion. And the fact that the EC waited till announcing this in the election year also doesn't help matters. What's your thinking around it? Your party supports it, or is it that your party doesn't mind whether it is December or November? What's the position?
Well, Salom, ask my good brother Baba Jamal that when did they come back to IPAC? So if this conversation had to happen much earlier, where would they be? Now that he's saying they're a major force, which they are, they've been outside IPAC, so they are the problem if we're having it now. So, but you were not there, that's the point.
We were there in the beginning.
Yeah,
so we could have discussed this thing.
If last year you were IPAC. But that is just by the way. But you see, so I think I agree largely with the comment of my brother. But I want to emphasize that if it is democracy, everybody must be equal. Whether you bring 5%, 1%, or 0%, every political party stands there as a representation, as an organization with potential to win the election. So we shouldn't judge them by their past performance or their present representation in parliament to determine that their voice is minimized or they are meeting with their uncles and fathers, being the NDC and the MPP. No, they are legitimate political parties, so their voice must be respected. And also, if it is a democracy, then institutions must be allowed to work. So if the EC, considering what mandate it has and decides that, okay, well, we prefer to do this for purposes of organizing runoffs and managing that and the transition attendant to that, we think that bringing it to November would help and all of that, then the institution should be allowed to outline its reason, justification, capacity to be able to manage that transition so it doesn't cause any problem or create problems rather than help. Then the institution should be allowed to make its case. We shouldn't have to make it about the political parties. They are to referee the process for us. If we then begin to dictate for them how we want them to referee, then who is the referee? And so I think that the political parties must watch that. But on the specific matter, I don't think this is new. We've always had a conversation about this. I think the specific one here is the 2016 effort by the Madame Charlotte Osei EC seeking to want to do this. It's for good reason. And I think that the NDC at the time agreed with it, that the rationale they wanted to do it back then is the same. It hasn't changed. The only thing then that MPP may have opposed it back then is because the closeness of the time for that transition to be done. And now there's a bit more time, but I hear the argument that perhaps we should do it in 2028. My party believes that we should do it now on account of the unforeseen situation if we had to go to a runoff, the pressure it engenders, I think that this is just to be able to take care of that. But if it happens so that we don't have to do, we don't have to shift it, and then we'll leave it at December 7th, I don't think that it will prevent the New Patriotic Party from winning. We are quite ready and would be able to win the election in December 7th. But the only thing is to create a buffer that going into 2025 for the transition, we are able to manage the situation a bit more.
Is there a position?
Reasonable.
Is there a position you will push? I mean, at IPAC, for example, or wherever it comes up, you are for the November 7 date, if I'm getting you right. Is there a position you will push, or it's something you will just say, okay, once we are all not on board, we think we can do the next election? Is this something you will really push to the end?
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. If you hear what I say, the EC is in charge. No political party can determine for the EC. The IPAC is advisory. Okay, whether as the MPP or the NDC or any of the political parties.
No, but Richard, the IPAC is advisory. So, for example, if the NDC and the MPP, who are major players in this arena, say, no, EC, we know you are independent, but you are working with us and you are working for us. We think that doing it this year will not work. How about we all come together and say, okay, let's make it 2028? I'm sure the NDC agrees with the NDC and MPP agree on that. The other smaller parties may join you, and it will be very difficult for the EC to go out on its own to do, even though they can do it. But the people you are doing the thing for are telling you that these are the challenges we face. We've drawn our program for the year. We don't think ABC will be appropriate. Let's do it next time. It will be very difficult for the EC to go ahead if the NDC and MPP come together, put across cogent reasons why they think it should not be this year. Because this really is not a do or die thing, is it?
No. I think that it's not an issue that would create any division. I don't think that there is such a sticky issue. It's an efficiency issue. It's a process management issue. And so I think that for good reasons, the NDC doesn't necessarily disagree in principle to moving it to November. We don't. The only thing is the timing. And I've made that point to you that when they were supporting it, the time was practically not feasible to do it. Now you can argue relatively that you have enough time to do it. But you see, we need to correct this impression, Salom. The EC is not managing it for MPP, NDC, or the political parties. The EC is managing a process, democratic process for the country.
For the country,
so the
yes.
stakeholders, the stakeholders are not the political parties necessarily. It's the citizens of this country. It's the constitution of our country. So that's the broader scope we must look at. So the political parties may not like it. But then the EC is established in law to do that. What we would be interested in, we cannot stop it. What we'll be interested in is to canvass the EC, consider our advice. But if you can't, as stakeholders, show us that was some of the parties, I think GOOM and some other parties in IPAC had canvassed a position to say that the EC should outline their position. Okay, the EC should outline how they are going to implement this for them, so that they can be assured that they will be able to do it successfully. But be it the position of the MPP or the NDC and the supporting small parties, the idea of doing this, it is only to ensure that in the unlikely event the election goes to a second round, we'll have a buffer to be able to plan and do efficient, transition and then the election. On the question of the making a holiday out of the election day, I think that is also open for discussion. It's a friendly conversation to see what works. And I don't think that is a situation that is necessarily divisive. It is one of agreement to say which one helps us better to try and get turnout, to try and give room for our citizens to be able to manage their affairs and then be in a position to exercise their democratic right, which is the foundation of this democracy. So I think it's not a divisive issue. It's one that we can agree and move forward on. I've seen that people have made proposals that consultations be made with trade organizations and employers to be able to arrive at a situation, if they are okay, because it has some economic implications for their businesses and concerns. So that issue also is not one that is an intractable position. We can resolve it, and it's not a difficult matter at all.
Very well. Let me speak to Dr. Issa Santi. He's a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. He's been on for a while. Doc, welcome to the program. I know you've been following the discussion. December 7, November 9. Does it really, November 7, December 7, does it really make any difference? And what do you make of the arguments for and against the two dates?
Good morning to you, Salam, and good morning to my friends in the studio, Baba, and then Richard. Good to see you guys, and then your viewers as well. The conversation is interesting in the sense that this is a matter, if you look at the date, it's a matter that the parties have proposed a change of the date some time ago. What was left was the implementation aspect of it. Yes, so you realize that from a certain standpoint, all of them agree in principle that the date ought to be changed. But as to the real question is, when was it supposed to have been done? And that has brought us this far. And now the EC is saying that, yes, I want to change the date, and then we follow what we proposed earlier on. If you listen to both sides, there are merits in all that they are saying. But election is a very critical exercise that the slightest error can really mad the whole democratic process. So that is why the ECOWAS protocol is solid on the cautioning that, hey, if you want to make very serious decisions during election year, weigh it and then involve all the stakeholders, have a major decision reach on that, so that at the end of the day, for you to arrive at a certain decision, all those who matter in that decision have contributed their quota, and you have arrived at something that is meaningful. That is the whole essence of the ECOWAS protocol, which you rightly quoted. So I believe that, yes, the protocol emphasized on 6 months to the election. But if you look at this date and all the arguments, the state will not lose anything if we should allow this year to go and then plan properly for the next election. I hold that view because, yes, it is a difficult thing. But remember, over the years, we have managed the process and managed it well. Irrespective of the fact that sometimes we even went for a second round, sometimes there was also a disengagement from one party to a different party and all that. But we've managed all these processes well. So I am not sure that this time around, should we get to that bridge, it's going to be a difficult thing for us. We'll be able to manage it well than introducing something that, if you don't take care, it's likely to have a certain effect on the system that will mar the whole process. But I believe that on that score, we could spare the whole society of that. Remember only, it is not only the date that the Electoral Commission is proposing, it's also introducing something that we are not going to use, even indelible ink. And I ask myself, yes, it doesn't matter the argument in there, but if you look at something that works for you, why are you in a hurry to change something that has worked for you over the years? That's where my question is. Because we have seen the role of indelible ink and what it has contributed towards a successful and meaningful election over the years. Why are we in a hurry to throw it away? Something that works for you, you are not in a hurry to throw it away. So on the date, I believe that we can spare ourselves this year, finish 2024 election, come back immediately after election, look at the conversation from year 1, year 2. By the time we get to year 3, consensus would have been built on this, and we will know the direction to go. And then the issue of no indelible ink, I think that its consequences can be dire for this country. I believe it must be shelved, because in any case, EC cannot convince me that the use of indelible ink had really, the negatives outweigh the positive, for which reason it want to change it. let us remember that it is a process. Election is a process. Once you manage it well, it shows in the outcome. If there are problems, you are likely to be confronted with an outcome that will not inure to the benefit of everybody. So that is why all those who are speaking, all right, especially those who are speaking against the date, there is that caution they are sounding to the Electoral Commission. So I believe that it should be able to take it in its stride and then look at it and say, look, over the years, we have managed the process without changing the date, and we have moved on. We have even gone through, runoffs, and we have managed the process well. We have even disengaged by moving from one political party to another, changing power smoothly, and we pride ourselves of having gone through that process very well. So if people, the stakeholders in this process, some of them are speaking ill against this process, let's pause it, finish the process, and start the conversation as early as 2025.
Just briefly, so will you be surprised if after all these discussions, the EC goes ahead to, to stick to their position of changing the date? Will you be surprised?
You see, rules are used to regulate the conduct of the people, but rules are made by human beings for a better life. So you can say that, yes, the law allows you as an independent body, you have the right to make certain decisions and all that. But remember, institutions do not work alone. Institutions are represented by human beings. And in this process, this institution work hand in hand with another institution called IPAC. And of course, with human beings also at the background supporting the process. So you cannot say that, yes, because the law allows you to do what you want to do. If that thing is going to create a problem for us, should we sit down and say that because the law allows you? Otherwise, all institutions will take us for a ride. Let us remember, laws are nothing, but they represent the will of the expression of the people. At which point in time, this is what the people say it should be. So if you are implementing, remember that you are implementing something that the people have agreed on, and that has given birth to the law. And it's saying that at this point in time, this is what the people want. It is not only the institution, but let us remember that institutions are driven by human beings. Without them, institution becomes empty, monuments and empty things on paper and the rest of them.
Very well. Thanks so much, Doc. I'm taking a short break. When we come back, we look at the last lap of the program and just pass a few comments on the MPP presidential parliamentary race we saw over the weekend. This is the big issue, 97.3 Citi FM, Citi TV, and on our socials. My name is Selam Adunu. Don't go away.
Big tech wasn't really here. What have they seen in the past 10 years, which is making all of them want to put their HQ here?
If you're a business that sees itself growing global, we'll definitely need some sort of boosts. We need to tap into those existing networks that these big tech companies do provide.
Is there a downside to big investment in Africa? Okay. It's a tricky question.
We want to be like Amazon, we want to be like Google. This is not, we are not looking to sort of be just another player.
For me, big tech is something highly controversial. I see the value of it, but I also see that Africans should stop playing second fiddle to some of these organizations and have the confidence to start building our own technology.
They've seen how we are using the limited resources we have to solve real problems. They've seen indigenous tech startups achieving things that took them years to figure out.
Yeah, welcome back to the big issue. My name is Selam Adonu. Now we're moving on to look at the MPP primaries of last weekend. Interesting race it was. 102 constituencies elected their parliamentary candidates to face the NDC in the next election. But before that, let me just take this comment. Okay, no, I'll come back to the comment a bit later. But just some announcement or some information that came through while we were on air. The president has sacked 24 district chief executives, has sacked them with immediate effect. 24 district chief executives across the country have been sacked with immediate effect. And also, almost with immediate effect, or appointed or nominated 26 new MMDCEs after sacking those 24. So 26 have been nominated to replace those sacked. So the breaking news is that the president has sacked some 24 MMDCEs and then appointed some 26 almost immediately. So that's the information there. All right, Richard, let me say congratulations on a contest I'm sure generally ran well. That's over the last weekend. What's the party's general view and impression of the process? I know you say the party's committee must meet and all of that, but even in absence of that, what's the general discussion on the corridors of the party's offices, etc., about how the election was run and the outcome and how everything panned out?
Yeah, so thank you very much. I think as you rightly said, that the election went well. My camera has changed. I hope you can see me.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's better this way. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that the election general across the country went on very well, very peaceful. I think that is widely acclaimed that it's been one of the most peaceful elections, given the expectation and the tension that attended the campaigns and the planning. So it was fairly peaceful, and we're quite happy. We commend the Electoral Commission, the police. We extend very heartwarming commendations to all the delegates who participated in the process, especially to our national chairman, who led a very solid management to deliver that, our general secretary, who administered the process. We are very proud of the input they have made. But then we have, as you would say, a few sticky situation, particularly what is in Yendi. In my best view, that election is inconclusive because the Electoral Commission had not finished with its processes. In light of what the party sought to do, which is the reason we've had a very peaceful election, is to hand over the process to the Electoral Commission and then the police to superintend the selection process. After we have done our internal processes of identifying who all are qualified to be on the ballot, the day of election, the management, the conclusion of it rests with the EC. So in that specific case, it appears that because the Electoral Commission didn't finish everything and counting and all of that, there seemed to be some challenge. And if you see, the EC issued a letter to say that they don't associate with the conclusion that we have brought to the election there. And so that's just one sticky issue that outside of everything is needing to be attended to. And also, right after that, Salom, you recall 2 days ago, the party put in place some reconciliation committees, regional reconciliation committee, to begin work in earnest to try and address any issue to do with the elections. These are, internal jostlings, the possibility of any friction or frictions being created in these constituencies are very high, and they are real because they're human institutions. So the committees are supposed to deal with any outstanding issue flowing from the primaries, parliamentary, presidential, polling station, all through to the party. What issues may come from there, the committee would look at that. Once these committees start working and we finalize the issue to do with Yendi, for example, then I think that we have about 3 constituencies that are outstanding. I think I recall Mampo is outstanding. I think Agona West or East
I think
had a
Shaisu
challenge.
as well.
I think Ishaiso was done. They came in. So yes,
Okay.
their election was done. So I think that will certainly be Mampong, which is a court case, and then Aguna West also, which is a court case that needed to be addressed. Quite apart from those, I think that the New Patriotic Party, we are ready with our full complement of parliamentary candidates to go into the elections in 2024.
Yes.
Whether it is November or December, the New
You are
Patriotic
ready.
Party.
Whether it's November or December, you are ready. Very fine. But talking about Yendi, talking about Yendi, I wonder how the process went. Didn't your officials, for example, know that they do not have what it takes to declare the results of the election? And they did so proudly, and they did so with impunity. I wonder what their training has been and what you've told them after that. And I'm also wondering if you have a comment also to pass on the attack on our journalist, Alabira Mohammed, and the manner in which it was done in the full glare of the public, the security agencies, etc. That was not good.
Yes, absolutely. I tried to reach out to him when I came to the knowledge of this matter on Thursday on Good Morning Ghana, and he was on the show to make his account of what happened. I think that I'm very sympathetic to that situation that he may have gotten through. The preliminary, videos that I have seen suggest that there was a tussle there. So I will not discount any claim that says that anybody has suffered any mistreatment. And so I think that beforehand, I will associate with many to apologize and to be clear that the New Patriotic Party, we do not do business that way. That's not who we are. Our values transcend the happenings there. We believe in allowing democracy to prevail, and that includes the media, who are to amplify, report, and let citizens know what is happening. We believe that their protection is paramount. And so before full evidence is adduced, I think that we need to apologize and recognize if the reporter claims being mistreated. So I am sympathetic to that position and will not condone anything like that being done to anybody.
Right. And the declaration of the results, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in respect of the result, I from what I said to you earlier, you understand where I stand to say that the process is the EC's to conclude. Nobody else can conclude that process for the EC, and I stand by that any day. It is a principle that we must uphold to say that it is the EC who is conducting the elections. Nobody else can come in and speak their own results. And even the declaration, as you have seen it, it was not consistent. We don't know what the numbers are from the declaration that was said to have been done. So I think that in my best guesstimation of what happened on the day, it may just be that because people felt that, well, the EC has started a process, had counted it. We haven't been here before, right? This has not happened before. So under the circumstance, people think that they can continue the process for the EC. But in principle, I don't think that that should hold or that should be the way to go. The party leadership will look at it, and the appropriate guidance will be issued. But I believe that Yendi would be one of the places that the New Patriotic Party will win the election in 2024. So all the necessary steps will be taken to ensure that the best candidate the people desires is the one that goes for the election representing them, and the New Patriotic Party will win. But as for the declaration, as you have asked specifically, I think that it is the EC's mandate, and we should allow the EC to do it.
Very well. How about Wale? Dr. Kabiru Mahama, of the Office of the Vice President, beat the Gender Minister. Gender Minister is in court seeking to restrain Dr. Mahama from holding himself out as parliamentary candidate. What's the party doing about that? Of course, it's in the judicial system, right. But what's the party doing about that? Does the party know about it?
Yes, the party is fully aware of that action. But what the party is doing, I cannot discuss because now it's a judicial matter. And so the individual who is aggrieved and has taken the case to court will pursue it. My best advice would have been not to do that because we have internal processes to address some of these things. But then the MP has reason to sidestep the party's processes and want to engage the judicial process for redress. That will not be the party's best advice. That is not the member's best step to go ahead of the internal processes. But be it as it may, it is there. And now it's out of our hands, unless there's a pleading in court to have the case be brought for party redress. As it is now, I think the court will, they haven't sat on the matter yet. And so when they do, whatever the outcome is or the direction is from the court, I think that the individuals in the case would comply. But if the party finds a reason, I'm sure the director of legal will be a best person to respond to this question. But I'm thinking that whatever it is, the courts would give some direction and then the party will be advised appropriately.
Given that that's Dr. Bawumia's constituency, Wali Wali, I'm sure the party is particularly interested in retaining that seat, given that that is his hometown, his constituency. But that's fine. Let me speak to let me speak to Doc, and I'll come back to Baba to wrap this up. Doc, what was your impression generally about the race? We saw some interesting contests. So, for example, between Dr. Gideon Boaku, technical advisor, spokesperson for the vice president, and Frida Prempeh, quite a heavyweight contest. Gideon Boaku defeating the minister, like the point we were just making. Dr. Kabiru Mahama, office of the vice president, defeating the minister, gender minister, and a few other ones. Adwa Safo losing out to Michael Kwe Jr. That wasn't a surprise. What was surprising was the share margin, all of that. Tina Mensah, deputy minister, losing out to Okada boss, Jerry Shaib Mahama, Jerry Shaib Ahmed. What do you make of all of that? The new entrants and those guys beating and all of
that. I think I'll commend MPP for a good organization. If you look at it, the whole election, by and large, it went well. It's nothing but a manifestation of the kind of work they put into the process, and it manifested itself that nicely that we all praise, except for one of the ugly spectacles, that is what happened in Yendi, which you and I are not happy about. And I'm happy that Richard has also pointed out the party's position. They are not for that type of process. But, what went on in Yendi was very unfortunate. One would have thought that something good would have come from that process. And I am also happy that the Electoral Commission came out that, yes, they've not finished that process, and that anybody who declare yourself, do not have a hand in that. It's a good thing. Because in election, you always need a referee who announce the verdict for competing parties to declare winners and losers and all that. If you are a true Democrat, all that you do is that when you have lost, you accept defeat and abide by the rules of the game. But I want to caution MPP, and for that matter, by extension to NDC too, this habit where people go ahead out of on their own to declare results is gradually gaining grounds. I record, I think 2004, so when Jacob Lamte, the late, and some friends declare results far ahead of time. You recall that, Salom, I'm sure you recall that situation. The year is what, I think 2004, so yeah. We don't want that situation. Follow up to this, we saw 2020, where NDC MPP, they were declaring results.
Yes, let me come back to you quickly. There's something happening in Pando right now. We need to cross over to Pando. Apologies.
Sure.
To take something quickly. So the Citi team is at Pando making the presentation of the relief place. And we are told that the event is there. Let's just catch it now.
That was story. The fishermen, the fisher folk and the women there already. So from today, your story will be told for the whole world to hear. And we are sure that when that story is told, the necessary development, including the renovation of that landing site, will definitely be carried to the government. So, Medak Benami.
Thank you so much. So, the Queen Mother of Pando Toko, Mama Dunyo the First, who has just delivered this beautiful gift to Bernard Koku Avle. Thank you so much. Mama Marukuna Tanoi. Yes, and so Bernard, thank you so much. You can resume your seat. So she said that they are a riverbank community, so what they found in the water is what they have given to Bernard. And I suspect what is in there. Bernard says we'll make a quick stop at a Kenke joint and do something small with the fried stuff inside there. Maraku vivliwe lema, vivliwe majimaru, vivliwe majimaru. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We will make progress now. I came yesterday from mother of the land. I will now have to hear from father of the land, the owner of this land on which we are standing, who has given us the permission to come and do this project. And so the traditional rulers, Fred.
Ta kemisen cho mio nena nebola fifie mia ai mieta tebo ikenye efiene bando toko nutuom.
So we invite the divisional head for Achia Fuma traditional area, Togbe Asumedu the 8th, to give us a quick comment on this matter. Manago Togbe, Marco microphone away. Okay.
I thought you were going to.
Le Akpenifia Opepe Wope Dagadu Asiekela Unkome Medo Wezona Vavala Opeti Miafumo Mefia Citi management team, workers from the Prudential Insurance Company. I want to say a big thank you for what you have done for us. Actually, I am dumbfounded at the speedy manner in which this project was executed. When I was called some few days ago by our hardworking MP, Ajwa Mansan de la Soa, a.k.a. Nyonwakwe, that I should come and be part of this event. I was so shocked. I said, wow, I thought I was dreaming. Thank God, everything has come to reality. I will only want to say a big thank you to the management of Citi Business or Citi Company and that of Prudential Insurance Company. I promise that I will make sure we put this to good use. And I'm also promising that that culture of maintenance will be observed in order to prolong the lifespan of the facility. I am always ready with my chiefs and queen mothers, together with my headmen, that I will always make land available for any development project, anything that has to do with development. I will make sure, by hook or by crook, I make land available. Land should not be a limiting factor to our development projects. We pray that the good Lord will strengthen you. If you go back to your various offices, the Lord be with you and strengthen you. Like the MP said, it's like we are running a race together. So in a race like this, when you run a little, you turn back and look at your colleagues, whether they are coming, or your competitors, whether they are coming. So we have been in the race with other communities, like she said. Dafotonu is one of the most serious affected place. I am appealing to the organization and other benevolent organizations to come to our aid in times of difficulties like this. Thank you very much, and may the good Lord be with you all. Thank you.
All right, so apologies you had to break in to take that. Still a big issue, a few minutes to the end of it. So that was some event happening at the Pando area, where Citi TV, Pando Toko area, where as part of Citi FM Citi TV's Relief for Lower Voter project, we have donated an 8-unit block dormitory to the people of the Pando Toko community in the Pando municipality. So the facility is a third we have donated, completed and donated in 3 weeks to various communities. And so this is the facility we are talking about now, completed in record time, in less than 6 weeks that was completed. And the facilities are essential to temporarily accommodate victims of the Akosomo Dam spillage. And so that was what you just saw. And we are happy, and we thank our listeners and everybody for donating. And there are a few more ones we will do in other communities. In fact, they are almost done, but just when they are done, we'll bring that to you as well. So, Doc, apologies, we have to break in to just take that. But
No
you were making an important point. You may continue.
Yes, I was saying that if you look at the issue of declaration of resource, we have had some very poor background stories relative to what happened in 2004, where Jacob Bechebianco declared results far ahead of elections of the Electoral Commission. We saw 2020, where both NDC and PP declaring results far ahead of the EC. This type of behavior is not good. And when we continue like that, we are likely to have people who internalize this and want to believe that this is the way to go. So in building a solid institution, these are some of the things that we should eschew from our political process, so that we allow the institutions mandated to do what they're supposed to do, they'll do them at the right time. Another thing that also was part of the ugly spectacle that I saw was the issue we talk about, that journalist who was, attacked and all that. Democracy without media, we know, is empty. So the media must be given the free hand to operate. That is not to say that they operate in absolute terms, but whatever they go wrong, you use the rules of the game to right the wrongs. So abuse of the media and all that doesn't help anybody. I mean, I'm happy that Richard accepted the blame and apologized for that. But it should go beyond this, for all the parties to get to know this, that once you go on that trajectory, you are likely to be caught under the Freedom of Information Index, or Freedom House ratings is going to be captured in there, and it affects the fortunes of the country relative to issues about press freedom. You are also going to be caught under human rights reports, some of these things. And if you go to the U.S. State Department human rights report, these are some of the things they record there, and it bring a lot of dent on the image of the country. Of course, it also affects the democratic quality. That democracy, because it's anchored on the work of the media, you cannot take the media's role for a ride. So I believe that this should be a learning curve for all the political actors, so that they allow the media the space to operate and operate freely. The magic word is free. They must be free to operate. We heard stories about the monetization within the Ghanaian, the electoral processes. It's gradually becoming a norm. But you and I know that it's an aberration. We don't need this. Where now political parties come out boldly, and political actors will tell you that, oh, you pay this, and I paid that much, and I this, that, and all that. gradually impunity is setting in. And I don't know the direction we want to go. Once you introduce money into the system, you are virtually denying people the right to know the right messages that really resonate with them. That is nothing but what? An address to their problems. So once you introduce money, choices have been truncated. And at the end of the day, you are on a free ride. When such leaders cross the line or you want to take them on, you don't have the courage to do that. I will urge the political parties that this country has come this far and all sacrifices have gone to making the democracy the best that we have today. It is not a perfect one. Yes, it still have its own teething problems, but we should not compound the process. What I have realized over the years is that anytime there is a problem and we try to deal with it, political parties end up introducing another problem. And please, we want to tell them that enough is enough. They should shy away from this and then allow people to decide without any inducement whatsoever. That is the beauty of democracy. Come to talk about those who lost, those who won, and all that. I was not surprised because it doesn't matter whether you're a minister or deputy minister. If you did not put your house in order, you'll be thrown out. And that is exactly what happened. It tells you that people are alive to the performance of their leaders at each point in time. They gauge them, they weigh them, and whoever is fit for the job for the next parliament, they put the person there. So I was not surprised. If you take Madam Adjoa, case, it was a bad story. He left her constituents, and he could not represent them, and he could not also represent her party. Remember that political parties or MPs are nothing but what? They play representation role of their constituents. They represent their interests, their aspirations, their dreams, all right? And they use the platform of parliament to serve as the link between the constituents and the government. We're not there. Obviously, there's a missing link. And the party also need you at a point in time to add to the voices in terms of vote. If you are not there, obviously, you incur the wrath. I was not surprised about even the margin because I know that in politics, there's something that politicians should take note. It's what is associated with reward and punishment. If you do well and serve the interests of the people, you are rewarded. If you go against, you are punished. It's simplicity.
Very well. Thanks so much, Doc. Baba, you have the final word on this.
Yes, I want to just comment on 4 things quickly. I mean, talking about the breaking news that you gave us, that the president has sacked 24 people and reappoint about the same number or so. I think that the president should be sacking himself now. If you consider the abysmal performance he has presented to Ghanaians, I think that he should rather be sacking himself. He should not be even sacking those people. He should be sacking himself. And it's just sad that he's going for his last term. Otherwise, I know Ghanaians would have taught him a lesson at the post. So that is that. Now, when you talk, Hagba talked about this, gave a wrong impression about what I said about the other smaller political parties. I have never said that they have no right to express themselves. I have never said that they don't have a vision or they can't help. They are all part of it. But it is for good reason. But the bigger say should be for the two parties. It's for good reason that even in the UN, we have permanent seats. It's for good reason. They keep the balance. So if you go, can you say that Ghana should go and say that they are on the same pedestal with the US or China at the UN? No, you know, so there is a good reason why when Jim Mensah was the head of IE, she said that with representation in parliament, with that, because we must keep the balance. So it is not because they are not this thing. Now, when you look at the MPP elections, I think that it's good. They did well. Generally, even though there were some few bad black spots. Now, let me put it this way. There was a high, my expectation of those who win and lose. I was not surprised with Adjoa. I thought that she shouldn't have gone at all because she led the constituency down with her behavior, with her attitude. She led the constituency down. She shouldn't have gone. I thought that the way she was behaving, I thought she was just saying bye-bye to the place. But for her to come back, I was surprised. So I was not surprised when she lost. And even with the margin, I am still thought that she could have even lost with a bigger margin. Bigger margin, wow. Yeah, even with the, because I was not surprised. I thought, as a political person, we have been in the system and we know that she was going to lose. Now, the one who won, which was also a bit surprised, who retained his seat, was Asensu.
Okay.
With the sort of campaign that Kennedy Japan and Co. went against him and the sort of thing they said, I thought that that was what they said. Man, the lowest point
very well.
of the MPP parliament primary is what's the name?
Ralph Ajapong?
No. The
Katie Hammond.
Katie Hammond.
Yes.
That was the lowest point.
Because of the comments he made. Yes. So we're wrapping up. Okay.
That was the lowest point we could go. And I thought that by now the police should be inviting him.
I'm sure they will do that.
They will have to invite him because for him to come openly to say he will organize for a person to be beaten.
Very well.
I think that we should do something about it.
Very well. Thank you so much, Baba Jamal. Happy to have you. We'll hope to have you more time. Thanks so much for everybody for your messages. Chris from Ashale Buche. The government is lazy, only think about themselves and all of that. We'll read more of your messages a bit later. Thank you so much for doing the viewing and the listening. Richard Ahiangwa, Director of Communications, MPP, Baba Jamal, former MP Akuta, Deputy Director Legal of the NDC, and Dr. Issa Asante, Political Science Lecturer, University of Ghana. My name is Salam Aduni. Thanks so much for doing the viewing and listening on this extended event version. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.